These days, some absolutely ridiculous footballers are nicknamed New Messi, New Ronaldo, etc. etc. But one footballer had, and maybe still has, a legitimate claim to be the new Gareth Bale and Marcelo in one. Ryan Sessegnon made his senior debut at Fulham in 2016, aged only 16 years and 18 days. Basically a schoolboy given championship right-backs education in the art of dribbling. In his debut season, he was satisfied with only 12 goal contributions, playing more as a left-back and making the league's team of the season, the youngest ever player to do so. Unless it wasn't obvious a new star was born, Sessegnon upped the ante in the following 2017-18 campaign. Age 17, he scored 16 and assisted 6 more in the championship. Numbers that would be amazing for an experienced striker. What boosted Sessegnon's output was the fact he was no longer a fullback, he was the entire left flank. Sess was unstoppable in the majority of the games, galloping down the left and taking on the opponents with no fear. No wonder he was compared to Gareth Bale. In fact, the famous Welshman was the model for the youngster. Bale was just so energetic, powerful and pacey. I remember the Spurs games against Inter Milan. I always watched those videos and tried to emulate my game on what he was doing, recalled Sessegnon. Among others, Sess also called the young Luke Shaw as an inspiration, and his Fulham head coach Slavomir Jokanovic invented an even more careful comparison. People compare Ryan to Bale. For me, it's a mix between Bale and Marcelo. I've used him in a more offensive role, but he's ready to be left back of a big team that constantly attacks. Conveniently, the big team for Ryan Sessegnon became Tottenham Hotspurs. But first, he spent a full season in the Premier League with Fulham, making 8 goal contributions for the promoted side. But it wasn't enough to keep them up, and in the summer of 2019, he joined Spurs to continue his rise. The thing is, Sessegnon came injured, but the fact Tottenham spent £25 million on a youngster with a hamstring injury was testament to their belief. Yet the head coach Jose Mourinho didn't share it because the key element was missing, the ability to defend. Jose said about Sess, "He always arrives in dangerous positions and he is a good finisher. He can improve. He lost too many individual duels. He has a lot to develop, but the potential is there." A loan move was in the best interest of everybody and Sess joined Hoffenheim. Unfortunately, he didn't set the world on fire in Germany, and when he came back, another disciplinarian was in charge of Spurs, Antonio Conte. But unlike Mourinho, Conte found Sessegnon not just talented but also reliable and used him as an example for other young players at the club. What's more, Sessegnon was meant to play as a wing-back, perhaps the most crucial role in Antonio Conte's system. Sadly, just as he started to get going, a fresh hamstring injury struck. But injuries are one thing. At some point, it was time to talk about the actual performance of Sessegnon. As much as Conte praised him, Sess wasn't even half the player he had been at Fulham. Maybe injuries disrupted his rhythm because he lacked consistency and end product. In the only Premier League campaign at Fulham, he completed more dribbles than in 3 years at Spurs combined. Same goes for other key metrics and goal contributions. And as luck would have it, another injury setback halted his progress, hamstring again. By the age of 23, Sessegnon has had 4 hamstring injuries, not to count other setbacks. While hamstring injuries aren't as bad as tearing ACL, they have 2 primary negative effects. The first is that you are more likely to re-injure your hamstring if it's happened before. The second side effect is psychological, as you trust your body less and less, and the latter shows in Sessegnon's game. He's no longer the swashbuckling predator unafraid of anyone. He seems to be the opposite, and the cause of fear number 1 seems to be his own body. Why it came to this is a mystery. Perhaps it's the fact he was overworked as a youth player. Sessegnon made 50 England appearances at various youth levels. He was also a regular for Fulham in perhaps the most physical leagues in the world in the Championship and the Premier League. It could also be the fact he bulked up and increased the stress on his body, something his peer Reece James is accused of by some Chelsea fans. The glimmer of hope is Sess's ongoing recovery from surgery. He has been taken care of by a world-famous specialist who will hopefully fix his hamstring for good. Whether he can also recover mentally is another question, but Ange Postecoglou seems to be the ideal coach for a young man. Sess still is. Do you believe Ryan Sessegnon will fulfill his potential? Let us know in the comments, and also like the episode if you enjoy it, subscribe and hit the bell icon. See you in other videos on the channel.